Well, this here is definitely God's country. Take a look around. You can see a whole lot of, well, I mean, other than the obvious, a whole lot of nothing. That's some okra out there. And out there's some more okra. And guess what we're finna plant right there? You guessed it, some more okra. Well, let's see. Out there in see the washer sheds out there, that's when we pick the crops, run them through the machines, have them pruned, cleaned, washed, get ready to be packed up, sent to produce. I don't know if you can see the tractor out there. That's my boy Adam. He's out there getting after it, reconnecting the irrigation lines, getting ready to start watering down the Chinese radishes. Got cucumbers to work on this weekend. I'll tell you what, this is not for the faint-hearted, I promise you. And for $8.50 an hour, really ain't worth the piss. You know, they're paying expenses and food and lodging is free. But when I show you the conditions of such, you may not think it's that great of a deal. Let's go take a walk down here towards the pruning area and give you a better idea of what's going on here. Let's see. We got this whole deal over here. That's where we're going to have more okra being planted. They just tilled the field. As you see back over there, that's what I've been working on. All of this, I got to plant and pick by hand. This whole thing full of okra. And when the weeds get in it, these certain kind of weeds, what they do is they strangle the crops. So you got to go through and you got to literally pick this shit by hand, so that way you don't damage the crop, damage the produce. Pain in the ass, more like pain in the back whenever it's all said and done. And you can see over here, this is where they just got through planting more okra, which again is done by hand. I've seen these big combines on some of these prison farms where they use a machine that can literally distribute one seed at a time through hundreds of acres. And this has been going on for how many years now? Well, you've got this landowner here who would rather have cheap labor come out here do it by hand. And the only thing missing on this son of a bitch is a plantation home and a dude in a powdered wig cracking a whip on your ass. So, well, let me see what we got here. Way further on out here, we've got what they call daikon. These daikon, what they are is they're Chinese radishes. And the Orientals, I say Orientals, but parts of Asia towards, you know, where it's closer to the coast, they predominantly live on fish, seafood products. So these daikons apparently are good for the digestion, which helps them alleviate whatever certain physical issues and ailments that they have with, you know, comes with the diet consisting of nothing but seafood. And this, as you can see, some of the conditions around here, it's pretty ragged, pretty ugly. You would think that with the man who's putting this type of money and investing what he is in this outfit, you would think it would be a little more organized and maybe a little more cleaner, and the upkeep would be a little better, but that's not the case here. Of course, it's a little more difficult to maintain when you're only having one And if you're lucky enough, possibly 2 people at a time that are managing this. Okay, you see, you got over here, we got the machines. We got the machines which are used to clean and prune a lot of the produce and product once it's being picked. We wash them in the tubs, wash them in certain tubs. They run through the machines. They get cleaned. They get pruned, sometimes mostly by hand, but a lot of the time it's usually done in the machine along with it being done by hand. Got my buddy Adam here. Adam, he's the one who's pretty much doing all the hard work. Really good guy out here busting his butt, and his son doing all this planting by hand. And I tell you what, with the money that this guy's paying us, it ain't worth the shit, is it? No one no for shit, huh? All right. Well, like I said, you'd think with the money that this guy's putting in, you see the mess we got going here, you think there'd be a little more organization, a little more, but we can't spend time doing this because the man would rather us be out there getting in the sun, busting our ass for poquito money. All right, I'm going to show you out here, show you what these Chinese radishes are. I'm going to show you these daikons. I'm going to show you exactly what kind of stuff we're looking at here. You see, you got I mean, it's like a graveyard of some shit out here, man. You got all of this stuff laying out here, which, mind you, a lot of this is still fully operational, but it's just laying here gathering dust and rust, and you know, when it could be, the maintenance and upkeep could be a lot better, and which would help aid us in what it is we're trying to do. But rather than do that and take the time to keep that, he'd rather have us out here by hand, picking and pruning and seeding, and it's really ridiculous, to be quite honest with you. Come on, say what's is that? More daikon, okra, or what? Daikon? Mas daikon? Yeah. See, you got out here from what I'm about to show you. It's actually pretty fascinating because from what you see, there's really, I mean, it just looks like grass and weeds. I mean, there's not a whole lot that would indicate or give away what it is that, you know, we have going on out here. But the thing about it is, looks can definitely be deceiving, correct? Which, obviously, they were from the beginning, because that's how I ended up out here, because looks were definitely deceiving. Oh, shit. There might be a portion of this that you can't hear my audio. Okay. See what we have going on out here. You have him, he's getting ready to have a greenhouse, or I say getting ready to, he is already in the beginning stages of having a greenhouse erected, so that way he can have people stay out here on the property for a year-round basis, because it stands to reason that, you know, wintertime, you're not going to do a whole lot of harvesting, you're not going to do a whole lot of planting, you're not going to have a whole lot of crop, because, you know, well, outside vegetation doesn't do so well in the wintertime, now does it? Common sense will tell you, of course, that you're not going to be growing a whole lot of crops during the cold of the winter. Imagine that. Okay, you see here, got more stuff planted. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that is cucumber, if I'm 100% here. It could be more daikon, I'm not exactly sure. When I show you these daikons and the massive size of these things, and then once I show you the size and what it takes in order to be able to pick, harvest, and procure and manage this stuff, it's I don't know, it really, I'm kind of at a loss for words when I think about it, because it's like I say, this is almost like slave labor, man. I can imagine what these dudes went through back when they didn't have a lot of this technology that they have now. and these machinery and all these different, parts of the equation that we have, that we're able to utilize now in doing this, what they didn't have so many years ago. But with that being said, also look at the amount of labor that they had doing this, to whereas I introduced you to Adam, and then there's me. That's it. We're the only ones out here. We're the only ones doing anything. We're the only ones that are keeping this place up. Okay. This is a daikon field. All right. What again is what they call Chinese radish. Very, very popular amongst the Asian community, or Orientals, what they use in their diet because of, like I say, digestive issues and so on, considering they eat a lot of seafood. Okay, let's see. Where do I want to look at here to where I know we can find some good stuff? Well, okay, here we go. I'm starting to see some coming up out of the ground here. As you see, okay, there are what it looks like. They just look like weeds, and almost like this floral top coming from these radishes. And this is a good indication of showing whether that they're going to be ready to be harvested. Now, when I show you what it takes to pick, what this whole deal consists of, and I tell you what is expected of two men having to do this alone, and then what the quantity that is expected, it's ridiculous, man. Okay, let's see. I'm finding some good stuff here, because there's a bunch that could pretty ripe could be picked, but I don't see really anything that I'm too impressed with thus far as the size, because these suckers get, I mean, when I show you this thing, it looks like a damn rhino horn. Damn near like elephant tusks. Let's see, what do we got? Okay. Okay, here, and this is, I'm going to show you this. And when you see this, you're going to think, damn, but this is nothing. This is small compared to what it is we usually have to pick. Okay, now watch this. Now, you see this? You see this? This is a daikon. Better yet known as a Chinese radish, okay? Apparently very popular, like I say, with the Oriental and their diet and so on and so forth. And again, you see the size of this damn thing, okay? You see how big this sucker is? This is a small one. This is a little one. I cannot stress enough to you how the comparison between the one that the one I'm showing you, the one in my hand, the comparison to this and the ones we're normally picking out here. I would really like to find a big one before I walk off, so that way I can give you an idea. Okay, maybe here, I'm going to pick one more. Maybe this. No, that's still, okay, here we go. And again, this is, yeah, I know some of you ladies out there, y'all, oops. Some of you ladies out there, y'all might want to settle down and grab a hold of yourself. Well, no, don't grab a hold of yourself. That's not what I meant, pervert. But you see this thing? This is a small one. This is little. This is a small piece of this vegetation, which normally would be almost twice this size, especially in girth. Now, you seen what it took for me to pick this, okay? We're expected to pick 10 cases per person in an hour. Not only are you fighting the elements, the heat, the snakes, the insects, okay? Then, of course, you're also having to deal with the physical aspect, the back, being sore and all the this, that, and the other, wham, 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 right? I know. But, hey, we're only human, huh? And for those of you who are familiar with having to work in the fields in our finer Texas penal system, you know what it means to be out here busting your ass on these farms. I mean, dude, you see these things? Those are not small. But yet again, I cannot stress enough, these are nothing compared to the ones that we're normally picking. Okay? Now, I'm going to carry these down here just to give you a brief summary and example as to how it is that we have to manage this stuff. You heard me speak of the work that some of these guys are having to do out in the fields for the Texas prison system, which, big shout out to my boy Chester Crazy, Big Rico Lopez, all the homeboys. I'm not going to sit here and just break it down and go name by name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. Because when I put this on YouTube, I don't care if even just one person sees it, man. I want somebody to know what it is that some of us are being subjected to, because we cannot find work any other place due to the fact that, we might have a felony, a couple of gang tattoos, oh my God. Or, this is what we have to resort to in order to make a living. And really, I'm not even making a living. I'm just barely surviving, and I'm not even doing that. So, and you see, look, I'm going to show you again. I don't know if you can see him out there. You see Adam out there? What he's doing is he's having to go through, like you see these pipes. I'm going to start pointing these out more. You see this pipe running here? There are miles and miles and miles and miles of this stuff going on all over this property, all over this farm. You see this right here? This looks like something crossed between a cable truck and a dumpster collided or had babies, and this was the end result. But no, this is the pump. This is the irrigation pump. What we have is we have underground springs and wells that are being pumped and used to hydrate the vegetation in the crops. So, okay, see, and you see this pile of little pile of tubing here. You got the bigger ones and you got the smaller tubing. The smaller tubing, what you see, these big piles, are run row by row through all of these in order to hydrate the crop. Now you got these bigger ones are what come from the pump and feed into the smaller ones. Okay, so I mean, it's kind of common sense. I mean, it's nothing new than what had been going on for, well, hell, since they say the Egyptians and the Mayans, so on, had figured out how to irrigate and use certain amenities that they had at their disposal to hydrate their crops and vegetation and so on. All right. Well, what do you think, Adam? No one for shit, huh? Hey, I tell you what, man, that's a cool sumbitch right there. And that old dude, before I come out here, he spent 4 months by himself, busting his ass, taking care of this whole damn farm. Now, mind you, the owner, he'll come out here and spend a few hours a day cracking the whip and micromanaging and letting us know what it is that he expects to be done. Okay, here again, you see, it's another pump, right? And you see the piping. You see the tracks in the ground, because we got to have our tractor coming through. We got to plow. You know, I mean, if you spend all your time just walking back and forth around here, you'd never get any work done because you'd be too busy walking all over this son of a bitch. You see these crates right here? Each one of these crates is what we use once we harvest. We got to fill a crate, okay? You got to fill one of these crates. And those daikons I just showed you what I just picked, we're expected 10 of these in 1 hour. 10 crates in an hour per man. That's what this man expects out of us. In the sun, in the elements. You know, again, I'm no stranger to hard work, and I've been to prison, and you know, we've had to bust our ass and for free, you know, towards this you're getting paid. Yeah, I understand, but still, the only thing missing out here is a dude with a whip and a damn on horseback with a plantation home in the background. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, you got all these cases here, you know, and shit like this that piles up. Beautiful breeding ground for snakes, you know, all different types of shit. And we're not given the chance to clean any of this up to make it safer, not only for us, but I mean, you know, you're taking better care of your equipment and taking better care of your tools, you know, in order to be able to do the job easier. But, you know, the shit's left like this because he'd rather have us out there busting our ass, walking around in the sun, hand planting seeds and picking shit. Okay, now anyway, back to these daikon. We'll have cases of these thrown into the stuff like this, into the tubs. You know, we got the irrigation pumps where we can switch the direction of the water. This will be full of water, and we'll dump the cases in here towards when then we'll wash them. Same thing over here. Tub's a little smaller, but that's because we're usually doing it by hand. You know, we'll have this full of water. We'll have the daikon in there, and you have to take and hand peel the hairs off. And again, keep in mind, say like he wants 100 cases a day. He expects per man, and this man right here, he expects per man 10 cases per one man an hour. So if you work 10 hours a day, that's 100 cases he expects for one man. And I'm telling you, I don't give a damn how hard you work. You might be lucky to get 4 or 5, maybe 6 in an hour. And that's if you're out here doing this every day and you're experienced. You take guys that ain't got no choice but to come out here and they're not used to this type of thing. And he still expects 10 cases in an hour per man. I mean, it's downright ridiculous. So that's just picking. That's not counting all the micromanaging and work that comes after the picking the cases, right? So then you go through here, and once they get washed, you know, we have a conveyor belt. Got the brushes, you know. We'll have the water flowing, right? Water will come through here. Okay, the conveyor will run it through. Cleans, the brushes help clean. That's after we also hand wash and hand prune. Okay, and we got to make them look pretty, because when they get to the shelves, you know, of course, it's just like anybody when you go buy stuff at the grocery store, you want to buy what looks ripe and pretty, right? So you take this stuff, you hand prune it, pick the hairs, and mind you, you're on a time limit here. And if he expects 100 cases per man in so many hours, you still got all of this to do. That's not just picking it, that's also cleaning and so on and so forth. So then you take these, right? You run them through, you know, they go through, they go through here. And now I'm making a mess after I just got through cleaning this shit. Okay, now they go through here. Again, you see the brushes, and I've got the machines turned off because not only are they noisy, but like I said, I've already cleaned all this and I'm not trying to do it again. But they're going to come out, you know, they'll be a little cleaner, conveyed through here. Again, another brush system. There's water that runs through these brush systems as they're going, which helps clean. Okay, your final result, they're going to come out here, and usually Adam, the guy that I'd introduced y'all to, he's usually the one that's on this end of the line. And you see these boxes right here. We're going to have hundreds of these things stacked up. And that once they're clean and pruned and so on, then they're going to go in these boxes, okay? Which we also have to take and put together ourselves. That's right. They don't come like that. We get to do that good stuff, right? Okay. So, see all those boxes? We put them together by hand. Pick, clean, prune. Also, managing the machinery. And, hey, there it is. And stuff like this, if it's one thing my dad taught me, it's you take care of your tools take care of you. The mass majority of any work you do, if you ain't got the right tool, if your tools aren't managed correctly, you're not going to do a good job, or you may not even get the job done. And you see this shit? You see all this? I mean, I cannot think of any other business, any other company, any other trade who would allow somebody to have their tools and their equipment kept like this. It's ridiculous. Now, oh boy, oh, excuse me. Okay, yeah, a little bit of dirt ain't hurt nobody, huh? And it's not too bad, really, because drink as much beer as I do. These things, like I say, are supposed to be good for the digestion, good for your stomach. A couple of bites of this in the morning, excuse me, really actually does kind of help a little bit. Well, I mean, this is a small portion. Man, these things are spicy too. It's weird. I remember the first time I seen one of these, I thought it was a white carrot. Chinese radish. Who'd have thunk it, huh? All right. Daikon. Chinese radish. Looks like a rhino horn or elephant tusks or a fat girl's bedroom accessory. Ew. All right. Yeah. And, oh, yeah. I don't, haven't really disclosed the location of this place, but we're right off the Red River, up here on the border of Texas and Oklahoma. And, you see all of this, every bit of this out here. You see them trees way back in the back, way back there. That's all of this. All of this. The open spaces between, in between where you see, where I've given you the small guided tour and so on, all of this open area, this is all the land and property that we have to take care of. Yeah, I just chunked that daikon like that. And you know what they say, all them starving kids in China. That was pretty mean, I'm sorry. Okay, then we got these rolls of plastic here. See these rolls of plastic? This is what's used. And I heard a term the other day that I'd never really heard before, and they called it truck farming. First time I'd really heard of that. You hear truck farming, you think somebody's either growing Ford F-150s somewhere, and that was probably the dumbest joke that I've even heard, much less told, and I don't know how long, but okay, yeah. The plastic. That's where I'm going. You see this plastic out here? It's what's helped to contain the moisture once these crops are irrigated, once everything's watered. And mind you, what I'm fixing to show you now is the beginning of whenever you're starting to get the okra ready to be grown. And you've got all this plastic, right? You got all these rows after row after row after row after row after row after row. Guess how this plastic's laid out? Okay, you see the tire treads and the tracks. That's because you got one man driving the tractor with a spool of plastic on the back, which is being distributed. I mean, it's, pretty much, it's kind of common sense and more or less self-explanatory. The tractor has a device in the back, holds the spool of plastic, and it rolls out. But you have to have a man on foot, which is, again, my boy Adam out there. You see him, man, hard at work. Good dude. He he has to go behind the tractor, stake down an edge of the plastic. The tractor then drives off per row, laying the plastic down. Now, once the plastic's laid down, that's not the end of the road, okay? You still got to make sure that not only is the plastic laid within each row correctly, because these have to be planted a certain way, they have to be even, they have to be uniform, and so on, because it helps with the growth of the crop and the vegetation. But as you see the edges here, the edges, they have to be compacted so that way no airflow comes underneath the plastic, which would hinder the growth and the health and the growth of the crops and the vegetation. So, I mean, it's small, intricate details you would be surprised could have a huge effect on the outcome of your crop. Okay, and like I said, this right here, this field right here that I'm pointing at, this was just recently tilled, not a week ago, and this is getting ready to be prepared for more planting. And I believe, again, like I said, I think it's going to be some more okra. Here is one of the after stages. You know, you got your just breaking the ground. This is tilled with the tractor. The dirt's loosened up, so that way it can be, you know, the soil's turned, it can be ready for the plastic. And you got the plastic laid down, right? So that way then it can be ready for the seed to be planted. Now, when the seed gets planted, I don't know if he's got the seeder out here, because the seeds get planted by hand, basically. I mean, there's a couple of machines, but the one that is most commonly used on this farm is a hand tiller machine. Well, not a tiller, it's a hand planter wheel. And what it does is it's got a container which holds the seeds, okay? It distributes them singularly, or else however you calibrate it to how many seeds you want to be planted at this particular time. And as this wheel turns, you push it, it almost looks like one of those old-timey lawnmowers, you know, with the blades on the wheels, and you just push it, and then got the blades that you can see, and then it, you know, cuts the grass. But this is a seed planter, and it's almost the same thing, but it's a big wheel, and these seeds are distributed, equally and individually. As this wheel turns, it pokes holes into the plastic, and then plants, in this case, a single seed at a time. Now, you see here, I showed you the plastic over there. It hadn't been seeded yet, but you see the holes here in the plastic, okay? And what that is that's that wheel has teeth on it, and as it's rolled through, it pokes holes in there and distributes the seed into each one of those holes, and that's done, you guessed it, by hand, by man. No machines, nothing motorized, nothing automated, all manually, all by hand, all by the sweat of this dude over here. And then on top of that, I mean, you've got everything else that comes with having to maintain crops. As you see, like I said, what he's doing is he's doing some maintenance work on a lot of the irrigation tubing, because of course it stands to reason with the machinery that we do have, we're lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to use. Once it rolls over, this cheap plastic irrigation piping, especially if you have pounds and pounds of pressure of water running through this, and it gets hit or run over by these machinery, by this machinery, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? The pipes break. The pressure from the water is going to cause some kind of damage to one end or the other. So then that's where the maintenance and the upkeep comes into having to go through here and individually, again, manually, by hand, by man, to do the maintenance on these stuff like here. See, because you've got your bigger tubing, which comes off of the pump, okay? You have these small fittings with the valves which open and close to allow the water to come through here, okay? Of course, this is going to be facing the other direction once this is used, And then you're going to have the smaller tubing here, okay, connected to these fittings. So that way, once the irrigation pump is turned on, you've got water flowing into the crop, okay? Now, I know about now some of y'all are probably, if you haven't turned this off yet, are bored as crap. But, you know, I'm just trying to school you a little bit and show you what it is we got going on out here. Because if I was to just walk up to you and tell you what it is that we're going through and the hard work we're having to do and all the stuff we're having to deal with, you wouldn't probably give it a second thought. You wouldn't bat an eye. You wouldn't care. You wouldn't want to hear it. Oh, wah, go your ass to work, whatever. Or, like I said, I'm no stranger to hard work. 41 years old. Been working since I was 16. Laboring for bricklayers and several different trades in the construction industry and so on and so forth. Everything from bussing restaurant tables to stocking groceries at Tom Thumb to now farming. And I tell you what, I would not wish this. I was going to say my worst enemy, but hell, even worse than that. All right, now I'm going to give you a final run through, show you what it is that I've been doing. Okay, I showed you the daikon, showed you, how they're picked, more or less. You see me pick a couple, but I mean, hey, it's not like it's a thinking man's game, right? Showed you what's expected, the quantity, the quality, because again, when I showed you the size of those daikon, they can't be smaller, because then we're cutting into our own time, because they have to be, a certain amount has to be picked a certain time, and so on and so forth. Each one of those daikon I showed you, we're expected to pick one singular piece of vegetation, one singular vegetable, one Chinese radish has to weigh in between 3 to 4 pounds each. That's one, okay? These are then sold 25 cents a pound. Okay, that's what the man who owns his farm, that's what he's receiving, is 25 cents per pound. Okay, so they're then sold in the stores for twice that, 50 to 60 cents a pound. Okay, so that gives you some kind of indication of the money issue. Okay, now we got the okra. Like I said, shout out to the homeboys in the TDC, baby. Because I know y'all know what this okra is like. I know y'all fucked with plenty of this. But, pardon my language, I'm trying to keep this clean. Okay. See these rows and rows of plants of okra. Right? That is a clean, manicured row of crop right here. You see how each one of these, I showed you before. I showed you the plastic. I showed you the holes. I showed you how they're seeded. I'm going to show you the seeder wheel. I think it was being worked on. That's why I didn't run across it a while ago. But this is what happens in the next stage. Of course, you got your final, not final product, but this is your okra growing. Okay, each one of these